I think it's really important to try to remember that vitamin D was labeled a vitamin when it was first discovered because they didn't really know what this molecule was, and they had just discovered vitamins A, B, and C, and they related these new substances to diseases that were cured when vitamin D, for example, was noted to cure rickets. However, as they continued their research, they realized that they were actually dealing with a hormone, and that it is only a vitamin or a nutrient when one is not exposed to adequate sunlight, because our bodies were made to photosynthesize this substance upon contact with ultraviolet rays, or the sunlight, which is why we call it the sunshine vitamin. There is the precursor that's generated in the skin, vitamin D3, and then that is transported to the liver, where it forms another precursor, which is called vitamin D hydroxyvitamin D25. And then that is transported to the kidneys, where the bioactive form of vitamin D, the one that genomically transcribes many biochemical processes, is formed. We can get vitamin D by eating foods that are naturally high in vitamin D, and in the United States, where I live, many processed foods have had vitamin D added to them. There is the misconception that much of the world above in the northern latitudes people are unable to acquire enough vitamin D via the sunlight. But recent studies have shown that it only takes 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight exposure on a small area of your body, say your face or your arms, in the spring or the summer or the fall, to manufacture enough of your own vitamin D to carry you through the darker months of the winter when you're probably more covered up. So we're vitamin D factories. Not only does our skin produce the vitamin D3 form, but the cells in your skin can also produce the 25-hydroxyvitamin D and the 1,2,5-dihydroxyvitamin D, the bioactive form. So it's pretty hard not to naturally acquire this without consuming the synthetic vitamin D supplements that are being heavily promoted. It's a fat-soluble molecule, and we're designed to store it throughout the winter months. There's been a real concern because as doctors have been measuring the vitamin D, they're using as the marker the 25-hydroxyvitamin D, the form that is stored or made in the liver, and they're measuring the serum amount of that. And the puzzling part is that people who are sick, as well as people who are healthy, have what are considered to be low levels. So people are being labeled as vitamin D deficient, whether they're healthy or not. And this level, say it's 20 nanograms per milliliter, has been associated with a lot of chronic diseases. This doesn't mean that they cause the chronic disease, but that there is some link there. So that's where the concern has been, and the rationale is that if someone is ill and their vitamin D appears to be low, perhaps if we raise that, they will recover, or perhaps they will never become ill. So there's been a lot of studies that have shown this association, and now we're doing some long-term studies that are called preventive studies, and they're randomly controlled. They've got placebo group and people who are taking vitamin D supplement. And the early results that we're seeing in these long-term preventive studies of taking a vitamin D supplement is that they're not showing any benefit, that increasing that serum level of 25-hydroxyvitamin D is not appearing to work as they expected. Primary marker, the standard of vitamin D status, is 25-hydroxyvitamin D. Mm-hmm. What we are advocating is that if someone is chronically ill, has any kind of autoimmune disease or an inflammatory disease diagnosis, or symptoms of inflammatory diseases, that their doctor measure, in addition to the 25-hydroxyvitamin D, that they measure the actual bioactive form of vitamin D, which is 1,2,5-dihydroxyvitamin D. It's a more delicate assay, and the reason it isn't routinely measured is that there is the assumption that the the one that they're currently measuring, accurately reflects the level of active form of vitamin D. And in people who are well, we see that studies reflect. And so if someone has an adequate amount of the 25, they're going to have an adequate amount of the 1,2,5 hydroxyvitamin D. But people who are ill and have measured both of these forms, what we're seeing is those who have been labeled vitamin D deficient have an unusually high level of the bioactive form, the active form of vitamin D, which is an inflammatory molecule. It is telling us that the immune system is generating too much of this active form of vitamin D.